The message arrived at 11:43 p.m., a single line from a number I didn't recognize. He's been stopped. No punctuation, no name. I stood in my kitchen with the lights off, listening to the refrigerator hum like it was trying to cover for something. My son slept down the hall, mouth open, dreaming in syllables that still tripped him on the way out. I didn't reply. I washed my hands instead, slow, careful, as if cleanliness could be rehearsed. Earlier that night, at dinner, my father-in-law had leaned back in his chair, wine glass hovering, and said it loud enough for the room to hear, "Spit it out, idiot." The laugh that followed wasn't one sound. It was a chain reaction, a few people too eager, a few too late. My wife's eyes flicked to me, then away. My son froze mid-word, that tiny hitch where hope goes to die. I reached under the table and pressed my thumb into my palm until the pain felt useful. Now the message glowed in my hand again. He's been stopped. I turned my phone face down and waited for the second text. It came 3 minutes later. Friday night just got long. I didn't confront him at dinner. I never do things in rooms full of witnesses. The betrayal wasn't just the insult, it was the permission, the way everyone let it happen, the way my wife didn't say his name afterward, the way she tucked our son in like nothing had been broken. I realized then what I'd been pretending not to see. This wasn't about a stutter, it was about control. My father-in-law collected people the way some men collect tools, useful, quiet, replaceable. He funded my wife's first business. He paid for the house. He reminded me of it in jokes that landed like invoices. I was a guest in my own life, and my son was learning that silence was safer than speech. That night, after the dishes were done, my wife said, "You know how he is." I nodded. I always nod. But something shifted, a weight redistributed. I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark and replayed the laugh, cataloged faces, measured the distance between who I was and who I needed to be. By morning, the plan had a spine. I started where arrogance leaves fingerprints. His businesses were clean on the surface, always are. The rot lives underneath, in favors, in shortcuts, in people who believe rules are for other men. I pulled public filings at lunch, quietly, the kind of reading that looks like boredom to anyone watching. I noticed shell companies that shared addresses with empty offices, a pattern of Friday deposits and Monday withdrawals. I called an old contact from a job I'd left years ago, asked questions that didn't sound like questions, let him talk. At home, I practiced patience, helped my son with homework, let him take his time. We counted breaths together, not therapy, just rhythm. My wife noticed the change, asked if I was okay. I smiled, just tired. I watched my father-in-law that week, his habits, the way he cut corners when he thought no one was watching, the way he drank more on Thursdays, the way he drove himself home on Fridays anyway. I didn't set a trap, I mapped the one he'd already built. By Friday afternoon, the file was complete. Not dramatic, not clever, just thorough. Enough to make a man who laughed at children start measuring walls. The envelope was thin, that mattered. I didn't hand it to him. I mailed it to the one place he couldn't intercept, the one person he'd always underestimated, the woman who'd lost her job after signing a document she didn't understand, the accountant he'd blamed. She called me at 6:12 p.m. Her voice shook. "Is this real?" "Yes." Silence, then breath. "I'm done being quiet," she said. I hung up and set the table for dinner. At 9:18, my phone buzzed again. Traffic stop turned into a search. I pictured his face, the way certainty drains first, the way men like him think authority will rescue them. It didn't. He came home Friday night after midnight, not alone. 2 officers walked him to the door, polite, firm, the way gravity works. I stood in the hallway with my son behind me, one hand on his shoulder, steady. My father-in-law's eyes found mine. They searched for rage, for triumph, for something to grab. I gave him nothing. "This is a misunderstanding," he said, Old reflex. I nodded. You say that a lot. They read him his rights. He tried to laugh it off. The laugh failed. As they turned him around, he leaned close, breath sour. You think you've won? I bent slightly, just enough for him to hear me. You taught my son to stop speaking, I said. I taught you what happens next. The house is quieter now, not because of fear, because of space. My wife didn't defend him. She didn't apologize either. Some silences are confessions that don't need witnesses. My son speaks more these days, still slowly, still carefully, but he speaks. We don't rush him. Don't laugh. I learned something that night about restraint, about timing, about the difference between anger and precision. Anger wants to be seen. Precision just wants the door to close. And when it did, finally, I didn't feel relief. I felt alignment, which is how you know it's over.